All right, we're going to start off today with Universal Studios Hollywood. Let's go. Let's go.
Let's start off with Universal Rondo with for those that maybe haven't seen your video about the Bowser Challenge. Tell us about it. Let's walk us through the Bowser Challenge and what it tastes like. And
No.
it was honestly, the meat was looking a little pink inside. I was kind of scared.
Yeah, so it's funny you say that. It's funny you say that. Okay, so Bowser's Fireball Challenge has arrived at Toadstool Cafe. Pretty much all these ingredients that go into making this are all spicy, from that marinara to the meatball, a bunch of spices going into that, to that sauce that's right above me right here. It's all hella spicy. But Danny, I did see that the meatball was looking a little red when I opened it. And I had to ask the worker that was there. And he said it's because it's pork and beef. That's why it's supposed to look like. There you go. It's right there. Because I asked him, I was like, "Hey, man, this was $25. Did you guys cook it all the way?" He's like, "No, it's supposed to look like that. Like if I served you another one, it would look like that." I was like, "Okay, cool." But when I ate it, there was nothing wrong. I didn't feel like it was undercooked or nothing like that. This dish, to me, I am not strong with the force when it comes down to spicy food. I couldn't handle it. I didn't finish it. I think if it was like a two-person type of thing, we could have easily demolished that meatball. I thought it was a lot of fun. I took it at like a lot of these new foods and stuff that are coming to theme parks. I take it more as like this is something fun to do than like I'm getting my $25 worth, because 25 is a lot of money for a meatball and like a little croissant or the breading that comes with that looks like Bowser.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I thought it was a lot of fun. It was something new to do. I don't know if I would do it again because that Mario and Luigi burgers are just so good next time I go. But if you've never done it, you're in the mood for something spicy, I do recommend it.
Uh,
It lives up
we
to the
got
hype. Lives up to the
we
hype
got
for sure.
we have member Peter Darmanian. He mentioned the Bowser bread looks a lot like the Porto's meat pie kind of texture. Did it taste like a Porto's pastry, Mondo? That texture?
Yes, it's like very soft, very it's like very flaky. I would say it does remind me of that, Peter. I agree.
What's the sauce that you dip it in?
It's vinegar based, dude, and I couldn't handle it. I chickened out, dude. I was gonna first of all, I was gonna drizzle it all, like we're doing the fireball challenge, but
Yeah.
I retreated real quick. I was like, yeah, because I tasted it with the fork, just a little tab, and I'm trying not to cuss right now. I was just like, holy smokes, this is like legit spicy. But
So
I really enjoyed it. I thought it was
we
worth it.
as far as the Super Nintendo world, so we saw back in, gosh, I don't even know when it opened in Hollywood. I remember when it opened in Universal Orlando, but when the Wizarding World of Harry Potter first opened in Hollywood, they didn't use virtual queues back then. But obviously, we have, Secret Life of Pets used virtual queue for quite a while. So we saw virtual queue come back for Super Nintendo World. As far as Wizarding World of Harry Potter, it had a queue for a really long time to get into the land, and people had to exit before you could come in, kind of thing, for a good amount of time, and then it just kind of became open. What has the experience been like now at Universal, since you've kind of experienced it a little bit more than most of us, about like virtual queue, not virtual queue? Like, what is that like?
Yeah, well, let me show you. When I was there this past week, like 3 days ago, this is what it looked like with no virtual queue. That was the line to play a power band game. And let me see if I could. Yep, there you go. You could just walk into the land with re-enter. To play power band games, you're going to be like 20 to 30 minutes for one game. And to do Mario Kart ride, Bowser's Challenge, it was like 150 minutes to 200 minutes. And we're talking at a time where Super Nintendo World has no reservation. Um, Toadstool Cafe is just absolutely gone. Pretty much 9:30 in the morning. You're not going to find one after that for the rest of the day. Uh, the thing about Super Nintendo World, and real quick, Universal Studios dad with the super chat, dropping the fire. Thanks for chatting with us last night at Hogsmeade. We were the family of three at the end of the night. So nice to finally meet it. Nice to meet you. I hope you enjoyed Dark Arts. It was so good yesterday. But it was very cold. But nice to meet you, Universal Studios dad family. Thank you so much for supporting the fire. And I hope you guys had a wonderful night. Thank you so much. Um, there's a lot of things that go through my mind, Danny, when I think of Super Nintendo World. I got to visit Super Nintendo World, the soft opening, and into the annual pass holder preview. I got to, I was blessed enough and humbled to go through a media event. So I got to experience a low crowded Super Nintendo World. But now that it has opened, we've been going through a lot of ups and downs with the reservation process. And supposedly they've been doing a lot of days where there's no reservations and they just let people into the land. And I don't know what the right answer is because I've heard there is a lot of conversation that families buy power bands at City Walk, at the Universal store at the entrance, right when you walk into the theme park, and then they get denied. They don't get a reservation to enter the land. So, how happy are you as a family to buy 2 to 4 power bands and you can't even get into the land? You're pissed. You're not happy. So I understand the concept too of like, hey, just open the land, let people come in. Guest experience is just not manageable when everybody. The thing is, I almost feel like Universal. It's a lot to ask, but they should have pulled off like 2 things opening, because right now the new shiny toy is Super Nintendo World, and everybody that's visiting wants to do that. And the amount of fandom and love for Nintendo is ginormous. If you can't even imagine and fathom how big it is. So
Yeah.
everybody wants to go to that. So it's like this weird kind of shift that's happening that everybody heads to the lower lot first. And now that like we don't know, is there reservations? No reservations? Oh, there's no reservations. You best believe all that morning crowd is going to head to the lower lot and do Super Nintendo World. Everybody wants to do that first because if you could knock out Super Nintendo World, Mario Kart, Power Band games, Toadstool, you already feel like your trip is already well worth every dime and dollar that you paid for. And then everything after that is money, Studio Tour, Jurassic World, whatever the case might be. But I don't know how they combat this, Danny, because the crazy part, how it's all been playing out now, seems really weird that like special effects and animal actors closed before all this, because I feel like it would have helped out a lot if those 2 were still open right now to combat the whole everyone heading to the lower lot. But what I'm getting at the end of all this, with no reservations, I'll give you an example. I was trying to just punch a box that was, one of the boxes on the wall, not a power band game, a box on the wall. There's like 10 kids just hounding to be next. You know what I mean? And not just kids, adults and kids. Everybody wants to punch the box. So it's just like this weird scenario of like, there's just too much demand. The only thing I could hope out of all this, it pushes Universal more faster to expand, because people want more Nintendo without a doubt. And I feel like this could be a really great, I don't want to say learning process, but it could lay the foreground for even a bigger expansion if it ever does come to fruition.
Yeah, I
What are
agree.
your thoughts, Danny, on the whole concept of no reservations?
Maybe the nice part is that maybe, well, I think what really pushed, and I feel like, Crystal and Chris can kind of talk on this a little bit too. They posted actually a member message. I want to talk to you first before I start sharing my thoughts. But from Crystal and Chris, member for 21 months. Wow.
Woo! Let's go!
They put early access for Super Nintendo World is where it seems like it's at. Sold out 2 weeks in advance, so plan accordingly. And it's true. It's planned. It's planned really far out. People are starting to sell that out. spend $20-$25 a person to get that early entry. For a lot of people, like Mondo was saying, it seems like it's worth it for them. It's getting their vacation off to a right start. And some frequent members who want to continue playing the games and building up their score, to them paying that price is worth it for them too. So it's really just kind of where people lie with that. But I think the reasoning Universal might have in regards to
all of April's gone. All
the reason why Universal might be pushing to just open the land and not have the reservations is, like Mondo is saying, there's probably a lot of concerns with the power up bands. Buying them in anticipation to go in and then not being able to go in is a huge problem for them. But in addition to that, you have to understand too what kind of crowd control issues that brings to the lower lot, because people just kind of clog in front of Transformers, in front of Panda Express, and that whole area, just trying to wait around to see if they can be let in, or if it's time for them to be let in, or confused. And so if they just allow it to be coming in, Mondo was saying, when I asked him, I said, what did the lower lot look like when it was just open? And he was saying, on the outside of Super Nintendo World, you couldn't even tell. But as soon as you walked in, it was just insane. And I think that's kind of their goal with it, is like, by them just opening up the reservations and not doing reservations to get in the land, look how much it improved the area around the outside of Super Nintendo World. I think that's probably their intention. They probably get to a point where it's just too much and they need to just open it. And then on lower days, they can manage it.
Right in front of Transformers, that's where they would stop people to check if they have their QR code reservation to enter Super Nintendo, from like Transformer entrance all the way to like pretty much Mummy entrance. It was just a S show of people, a whole crowd of people trying to enter Super Nintendo World with their return time. Now that they just opened Super Nintendo World, it has freed a lot of that up tremendously. So like you were saying, Danny, it has helped that whole concept of flowing the crowds better.
Yeah.
It hasn't helped the demand. It's not curved. The demand's insane inside the land, but it does look a lot better. But thank you, Crystal and Chris. By the way, Crystal and Chris posted a vlog that goes over Screen Break, and that's over there at Six Flags. You guys should check that out if you are interested, because I know a lot of people are in the, should I go? Should I not go? Check out Crystal and Chris's video. And I want to try that new burger, that chicken sandwich you had, Crystal and Chris, at McDonald's. Watch that video if you guys want to see what I'm talking about.
We got a new member, James B. Welcome to Five Fires.
James B, what is up? Oh, damn. Hold on. Where are we at? There we go. Found it. James B. Thank you for joining the fire, James.
And then we got SoCal Imagine, who gifted a membership that went to Jennifer Acuna.
Oh, there, Jennifer. Let's go. Dude, thank you for gifting the membership. Thank you guys for growing the Fine Fire community. That's so awesome. Appreciate that, SoCal Imagine. Let's go. I'm just going through the comments right now.
Yeah, we got a member message from Rebecca Tapia, who's been a member for 21 months, almost 2 years again, just like Crystal and Chris. Says, happy Sunday, enjoying the parks today. Perfect weather. Finally, right?
Five fires for the weather. I know. It's beautiful out there.
I know.
Take advantage, everybody. Beautiful day today. James also says, my wife and I watched you for years, but just joined the Fine Fire community today. Keep up the great videos. Thank you, James. Let's go. Thank you, man. Let's see. SoCal Imagine also says, early entry is a must for anyone without a season pass, or even someone with a season pass traveling from out of town. Yeah, at first the early entry, I was like, it's a must. If Super Nintendo World's important to you, early entry is literally like VIP. There is always a chance that the ride might not open at early entry, because I know that happened today actually, but that's like out of the control of people, it happens. So always be kind and courteous to all the team members out there at Universal. They're amazing. They're always trying to create that movie magic for everyone. We got Rebecca. Let's go. 21 months of membership, 5 fires. What's up, Rebecca? Happy Sunday. Enjoying the parks today. Perfect weather. Finally got to that one, Danny. Thank you, Rebecca. And then Skull Style says, we're nervous. We're going for the first time next week, and we're preparing our Nintendo-loving kid that we might not even get in or not able to do Toadstool. It sucks. I can't emphasize this enough. If Nintendo's important to you and they open at 8 in the morning or even 9 in the morning, because those are their opening times, go at least an hour before. And I'm talking about you're at the security an hour before the park opening, because I've seen Universal, they're tending to let people in before the park even opens just to kind of push the crowds through into the theme park. Lots of times they let even people head down to the lower lot. Not necessarily that they let you interact and enter with the early entry crowd, but hey, you could at least be on the lower lot and it's not even opening time. You'll be there before. So I don't want to say it guarantees you a Toadstool, but you're just ahead of the game by a lot by doing that hour early before opening. That's literally my best recommendation. Or you buy early entry. But even the ride has been breaking down for early entry people. Yep, it happened today. It happened today. That is a bummer. You pay the $20, but at the end of the day, you could still do the Power Band games because that will not be too crazy. Another thing that has also returned at Universal Studios Hollywood is Dark Arts. It finally came back. I had a chance to do a live stream. I'm going to post a video of the show in its entirety by itself. So like we could just have the 8-minute show like not in a live stream. I'll post it just a separate video. The projections were beautiful. I was just like, wow. I was very impressed of how it was all coming to life at Universal. One thing about this, it was once again, and it was the big issue back in the day, it's just too windy. It's just too windy. So the drone portion of Dark Arts did not happen. I know there was also some conversation. Maybe we get Death Eaters come to life with this show. No Death Eaters. It was just the projections at the castle. They did run this 4 times. So you just because you miss out on 1 or 2 of these, you probably still have a chance. This ran all the way in at 10 o'clock at night. So shout out to Universal for getting things stay open that late. That was pretty cool. When I was here, the family that commented a little bit ago that I met in Universal, they were saying they were just coming from Super Nintendo World. And one of the big questions that I had, Danny, was is Super Nintendo World open the last hour or 2 of the park, or do they still ask for reservations and it's still crazy chaotic in there? And the family told me that you could just walk into the land and empty. It was just like you could do everything you wanted for the most part. And I feel like that was the same scenario that we experienced at Toontown, because Toontown was the same scenario as well. Extremely busy, so packed you can't even walk. Once fireworks came to closing, empty. It was just empty. And I feel like this is probably a common thing at Super Nintendo World, where if you are willing and can stay that late, you could reap the benefits of a lower crowded environment, and you didn't even need a reservation to enter that late. So I thought that was really cool. It's just you have to be prepared because it's very cold out there. Almost nobody lives close to Universal, so it's obviously a long drive late at night, but it's a good recommendation to know that most likely you could have a less crowded, enjoyable experience at Super Nintendo World, the 1 to 2 hour last hours of the park closure. Any thoughts on all that, Danny?
Well, we have someone in the chat, or Jennifer Acuna, actually new member. She said Death Eaters coming soon, and then did the little like shh. So, are you still hearing rumors, Maldo, that the Death Eaters might be coming still? But just
no, I've heard nothing. But I hope it happens. And if Death Eaters come, I like almost want to say I am wishful and asking, can they come with magic very similar to what they do in Florida? These Death Eaters are literally popping off fire and fireworks and changing the lights and the music. Like it's crazy, dude. They do a lot. Those Death Eaters over there in Florida are amazing. And I'm pretty confident our Hollywood version, they could get it done. The creative teams at Hollywood are amazing. They're
Yeah.
amazing.
I'm happy to see it back. I'm happy for them to bring other things to kind of pull people away from Super Nintendo World. Um, it's truly like Mondo and I were just, since this is Speculation Sunday, we were talking about just how big Universal truly is when you bring away when you add to it the tram store, right? If you just Google like how many acres is Universal Studios Hollywood, and they talk about like it being almost 500 acres, which puts it like as big as like Epcot, right? In Walt Disney World, which is huge. But in reality, like the theme park portion of it that you actually walk into is not very big at all. In fact, like total space is probably just like what DCA has, but you have to think about it. It's split over like two large pieces of land that you have to go on all these escalators on. So it makes it even smaller. So that's kind of why Universal really struggles with a lot of like expanding space. But then we were talking about, look how much space Super Nintendo World has took, which was not all that much space when you think about it. Just kind of like the space of an old soundstage with like maybe some additional space around it, and how much money and how much attention that's bringing. And look how much space the studio tour as a whole and its attached, attractions is taking, and how much money it brings. Which I don't know how many people travel to Universal Studios just for the studio tour, and maybe that was a little look into why Universal was talking about in those surveys. If the studio tour could be something that we would pay extra for. Maybe they plan on changing it a little bit to make it something a little bit more valuable. But right now, that studio tour, a lot of it's taking up a lot of valuable theme park space. That's what Mondo is saying. And I tend to agree with that a little bit. So,
Yeah, let's ask that question, Danny. Uh, I know the studio tour is like iconic to Hollywood. It's kind of what separates a lot of stuff from all the other theme parks is we actually have this live studio filming lot, and you get to experience and go through it all. Uh, I'm just asking this question to ask this question. Okay, I don't have no speculation. This is speculation Sunday. We're just having fun. What about if we lost the studio tour and essentially got this massive expansion of the theme park? Would you be open to that? Would that interest you? Is that a good idea? Is that a bad idea? Terrible idea? Post in the comments right now. I would love to hear what our community says on that thought. What are your thoughts, Danny? If we were to say lose the Nope area, the blue screen area, War of the Worlds area, all the way into Bates Motel, all that got demolished in a theme park expansion. What are your thoughts? Or is it too iconic and too pivotal of a thing that we cannot lose those areas to theme park? That's part of that's studio tour. We need the studio tour. What are your thoughts, Danny?
there's a sense of movie magic to some of it, right? Like especially like War of the Worlds, and some of the iconic things in the studio tour that were used as film locations. Um, those things I think like should remain part of some sort of tour on the lot, like the way that Warner Brothers has theirs, right? Where you spend a few hours going through the lot, maybe getting on and off the tour bus. But there's a lot of space that's part of the tour that's a little bit gimmicky that could be used for more theme park space in a space that's so confined, like Universal Studios Hollywood. Like you're mentioning the blue screen area, like that space over there. Um, like I know the Jaws segment of the studio tour is like pretty iconic for like people remembering Universal Studios Hollywood, but in actuality, like how much of a draw is the Jaws portion of the studio tour for guests wanting to like? Is a guest going to fly out to Universal Hollywood just to experience the Jaws segment of the studio tour? Probably not. Would they be upset that it's gone? Yeah, because it's something they remember. But I think they have to think about, with such little space, like how each space is used, and some of those locations on the studio tour can seem a little dated, and with the attention that just this small space from Super Nintendo World is getting, how much potential there is for them to expand into these properties that can make the lands more immersive, like they do in Orlando, can bring a lot of competition and extra tourism to this space that they really want, that maybe they're not getting, um, and seeing themselves as a major theme park competitor in Southern California, and not just everyone assuming that Disneyland's the only one and like Universal's what you do if you have extra time. So like I'm okay with Fast and the Furious going away. I think it's stupid. Like, and
I,
that's a pretty big portion of the studio tour, including that like blue screen area that they've cleared out already.
dude, you know how much theme park we could get if we lost the Fast and Furious and Nope area? Dude, that's a lot of theme park right there. Like a
Yeah,
lot, a lot. But what I was gonna say, Danny, um, back in the day, we saw surveys about studio tour being something that you would have to pay for,
yeah,
and we took it as like you would have to like an early entry, this $28 extra fee to do a studio tour. What about if the studio tour does lose sections? Oh, Max is like, let's talk about it. Yeah, I can't wait to take him to Universal. Um, what about if we lose sections of the studio tour, but it becomes a VIP only experience where it's more catered to like I don't want to say a one on one, but like a more personal experience for the VIP guest. And then you would still probably do your Jaws and your earthquakes and stuff like that, but maybe like the Fast and Furious, Nope, War of the Worlds, all that would be gone. But then you would probably go into different portions in that VIP bus that they have. It doesn't have to be trams anymore. I don't know. I'm just throwing stuff out there, but I feel like people would be hella pissed to lose the opportunity to ride the studio tour. Like the only way I'm doing the studio tour is a VIP. But if we got like 3 new lands, I think it's a really good argument, especially if
well,
Diagon Alley came and who knows
yeah,
what else was more Nintendo. It's hard to argue all that because Fast and Furious and those portions that I'm talking about, Nope and War of the Worlds. I'm just saying those ain't making money. If you throw in Diagon Alley, billions. You're making ridiculous more money. You throw in
yeah.
more Nintendo, you're freaking printing money. Like you might as well be a bank because they're making. It's just you know what I mean. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think too you have to look at it from a business perspective too, and if you look at it the way that Warner Brothers does their studio tour, that in and of itself is a day experience. Even though it doesn't take all day, it may take only like 3 4 hours tops in total. That's still like enough where a family would be okay with doing that for the day and then going back to their hotel. So if we're looking at all these rumors coming true about Universal Studios Hollywood becoming a resort and then potentially adding their own resort hotels instead of just the Sheraton and the Hilton like they have right now. Turning the studio tour into a separate experience, like Mondo said, where it's more intimate, more VIP. Like it's like Warner Brothers, where you have a guide that's with you, and you're getting off the bus, and you're looking at the sets, and you're walking into it, and you're having like another person come in and talk about the house that you're in, and over here talk about War of the Worlds or whatever set that it have, or be like, hey, this is the Nope set, like this is how we recreated it, but this is the exact set that it was, like going into a more depth on it. That could be truly Universal Studios like second park, right? But very specific to Universal Studios Hollywood, whereas Orlando, they're going for more like space and extra theme parks like Epic Universe. Like this is a working studio, like Mondo was saying. So have your second park really just be this studio experience, and then the theme park's a separate thing altogether, where you get to live the movies, and then the studio tour is like to see how it's made kind of thing. And so
Mm-hmm.
it could truly be a total speculative thought that like that's kind of the direction they take the resort. I'm on the same boat where like War of the Worlds can go, like it's been around long enough, and it's to a point where like I don't feel like that movie was really as iconic as some of the others like Jaws and stuff like that, right? Like I'm okay with War of the Worlds going, Fast and Furious going, all those spaces to make more room for things. I feel like Jaws, like, in and of itself, it's kind of a cheesy addition to the studio tour, but it's what makes it the studio tour. So I don't know. At Kong, I'm like, it's not the same Kong, right? It's not the Kong that we used to have from when it burned down, unfortunately. So to me, the Kong right now, it's kind of fun, but at the same time, like, I've seen Mondo fall asleep in there before, so.
I do this all the time at like Kong and Fast and Furious. I do this right here. I go. And if you think you're kidding, watch. I do it all the time. It's like I take it as like this is like a nice 5 minutes to just rest. But I will say this. I will say this. Kong and Fast and Furious. Every time I ride it, as soon as it ends, the kids and the families that this is their first time ever, they're always like, "Yeah, yeah, that was crazy," and I'm always like, "Dude, still to this day, people loving this experience." Just recently, I saw Theme Park Shark posted a video. He did a vlog of Orlando, and it made me think. People gotta wait hours to ride Kong in Florida. This is just part of our studio tour. So I was like, hey, you know what? I'm going to appreciate our Kong a little bit more because we get Kong included with this whole package of a studio tour. So instead of like just one attraction being Kong, like over there in Florida, you have to wait an hour or more for Kong. And that's all you get. You just get Kong. But I do that all the time though, Daddy. I do one of these. Like,
yeah.
It's just like, it's like my little 5 minutes of rest. All right. Closing thoughts on Universal.
I think the future is bright for Universal, right? Like there's so much potential on where it can go, and I feel like we're going to start seeing a lot more changes come. I think the craziness of Super Nintendo World is like what Mondo was saying earlier. It's like a
very good bad problem.
Like a good like look into the future of like maybe them being like, hey, look, like this, like we've got another really successful franchise that people love that spend a lot of money on and that will do really well for our theme park. So I'm excited to see where they take it.
Yeah, my final thoughts on today's conversation. Universal future is brighter than it's ever been before. Now that they have made Super Nintendo World real, it's done. It's a land you could walk into right now. That's an amazing feat in itself. And to know this is the box office of Universal movies, the most that they've ever made. They have Jurassic in the park. They have Fast and Furious already in the park. They have Minions in the park. And then Secret Life in the park. You best believe Nintendo will be up there in that box office. So from a company perspective, all their top 10 heavy hitters of making money, they have those properties, not all top 10, but like properties in the top 10. They have them in the theme park with the space that they've got already. And Harry Potter's in there too. Universal, I hope whatever's happening behind the scenes, there's just this massive expansion coming because the community of theme parks and the fans of Universal, everybody's going to open it with the biggest arms and be ready to enjoy this new era of Universal. I feel like the conversation has always been Universal is small and they don't have space. And I have a feeling at some point in time, they're just going to blow that concept out of the water and be like, bam, Donkey Kong, Nintendo, something else, Diagon Alley, Fast and Furious, more Jurassic Park, more Jurassic World. I feel like that day is going to come, and I hope to be alive for that day because I love Universal Studios Hollywood with all my heart, and to see it succeed like this, it's an amazing feeling.